You think the loud ones are the problem, the ones who argue, the ones who challenge you, the ones who openly oppose you. But you're wrong. The most dangerous people in any room aren't the ones making noise. They're the ones sitting quietly in the corner watching everything you do. Because while you're busy defending yourself against the loud ones, the quiet ones are learning you. They're studying your patterns, your reactions, your weaknesses, your tells, and by the time you notice them, they already know exactly how to move against you. This is about the people you're not paying attention to, the silent observers, and why you should fear them more than anyone else. Let me tell you something most people never realize. The person who talks the most in a conversation is usually the one giving away the most information. Every time you speak, you reveal something. Your priorities, your insecurities, your emotional triggers, the things you care about, the things you're trying to hide. And the person who's listening, they're collecting all of that. They're not just hearing your words, they're reading between the lines. They're noticing what you don't say. They're watching how you react when certain topics come up. This is why silence is such a powerful position. Because when you're silent, you're not revealing anything. You're not giving them ammunition. You're not showing your hand. But you are gathering theirs. Think about it. In any group conversation, who actually has the advantage? The person dominating the discussion, or the person quietly observing everyone else? The person talking is performing. They're exposed. They're predictable. But the person watching, they're invisible. They're calculating. They're 3 steps ahead. And most people never see this coming. They assume silence means weakness. They assume quiet people aren't paying attention. They assume they can ignore them. That's the mistake. Because the silent observer isn't ignoring you. They're studying you in ways you don't even understand. Here's what makes silent observers so dangerous. They don't react emotionally, which means you can't read them. When you say something provocative, the loud person will immediately respond. They'll defend, they'll argue, they'll show you exactly how they feel. But the silent observer? Nothing. No reaction, no validation, no tell. You have no idea if what you said affected them. You have no idea what they're thinking. You have no idea if they're planning something, or if they even care. And that uncertainty, that's power. Because now you're the one wondering. You're the one trying to figure them out. You're the one at a disadvantage. This is the reversal most people don't see. The moment you start trying to get a reaction from someone who won't give you one, you've already lost. Because now they're controlling the dynamic without saying a single word. They're making you work for their attention. They're making you reveal more just to get them to respond. They're turning your need for validation into their strategic advantage. And here's the thing. They know exactly what they're doing. Silent observers aren't silent by accident. They're silent by design. They've learned that the less they say, the more people reveal. They've learned that staying unreadable keeps them in control. They've learned that observation beats participation when you're trying to understand the game. Look at Ayano Koji. He doesn't dominate conversations. He doesn't need to prove he's the smartest person in the room. He just watches, he listens, he processes, and by the time everyone else realizes he's been playing a completely different game, it's already over. That's the difference between someone who talks about being smart and someone who actually is. So how do you spot a silent observer? How do you know when someone's watching you more carefully than you think? There are signs. First, they remember things you don't remember saying. Small details, throwaway comments, things you mentioned once in passing, and they bring them up later in contexts you didn't expect. That's not coincidence, that's evidence they were paying closer attention than you realized. Second, they ask questions that make you uncomfortable. Not aggressive questions, not obvious ones, but questions that make you pause and think, why are they asking that? Because they're not asking to make conversation, they're asking to confirm something they already suspect. Third, they're comfortable with silence. Most people feel silence because it makes them uncomfortable. They need to talk, they need noise. But silent observers? They let silence sit. They let it stretch. They're not bothered by it. And while you're scrambling to fill the gap, they're watching how you handle the discomfort. Fourth, they rarely volunteer information about themselves. They deflect. They redirect. They keep the focus on you. And before you know it, you've told them your entire life story, and you know nothing about them. That's not by accident. Fifth, when they do speak, it's precise, it's calculated, it's deliberate. They don't waste words, they don't ramble, they don't overshare. Every sentence serves a purpose, and usually that purpose is to extract more information from you while revealing nothing about themselves. These aren't random behaviors, These are techniques. And if you're dealing with someone who does all five, you're dealing with someone who knows exactly what they're doing. But here's what you need to understand. Being a silent observer isn't about manipulation. It's about protection. Most people who operate this way aren't trying to destroy you. They're trying to understand you before they decide whether to trust you. Because in a world where everyone's performing, where everyone's hiding something, silence becomes the only way to see what's real. Silent observers have usually been burned before. They've trusted the wrong people. They've revealed too much too soon. They've been used. So they learn to watch first, to listen first, to gather data before making decisions. It's not malicious, it's survival. But that doesn't make them less dangerous. Because whether their intent is defensive or offensive, the result is the same. They know you better than you know them. And in any relationship, any negotiation, any conflict, that's the position that wins. So what do you do if you realize someone's been silently observing you? First, don't panic, don't get defensive, don't suddenly start trying to control what you say. That just confirms you have something to hide. Second, observe them back. Not obviously, not aggressively, but start paying attention to what they pay attention to. When do they lean in? When do they tune out? What makes them react even slightly? Every person has tells, even the silent ones. You just have to know where to look. Third, control what you reveal. You don't have to stop talking. You just have to be more intentional about what you say. Share the things you want them to know. Withhold the things that could be used against you. Become conscious of your own information flow. Fourth, ask them direct questions, not accusatory, not confrontational, just direct. Silent observers are used to being the ones asking questions. When you flip the script, you force them to either engage or reveal that they're deliberately withholding. Either way, you learn something. Fifth, respect the game. If you've identified a silent observer, don't treat them like an enemy. Treat them like a worthy opponent. Because people who operate this way aren't usually stupid. They're not usually careless, and they definitely notice when you start playing their game. Sometimes the best move isn't to fight them. It's to acknowledge the mutual understanding and decide whether you're allies or adversaries. Here's the final thing you need to know. The world is full of silent observers. More than you think. They're in your workplace, your friend group, your family, your relationships. And most of them will never reveal themselves. They'll just keep watching, keep learning, keep adapting, until one day, they make a move you never saw coming. Because you were too busy performing for everyone else to notice the one person who is actually studying you. So here's my advice. Don't be afraid of the loud ones. They're predictable, they're emotional, they're easy to read. Be aware of the quiet ones, the ones who don't need attention, the ones who don't need validation, the ones who are perfectly comfortable watching the game from the outside. Because those are the ones who understand how the game actually works. And if you're smart, you'll become one of them. Not to manipulate people, not to play games, but to see clearly. Because in a world full of noise, the people who stay silent are the ones who actually know what's happening. And that's the most dangerous position of all.